Okay, good morning students. Okay, I am going to handle computer subject. Today I am going to start with the chapter 1, that is the typical configuration of computer system. Okay, in this chapter, there's the basic things you are going to study today is introduction part, then related terms related to the computer system, we are going to study the related terms and the block diagram of a computer system. Okay, let me start with the introduction itself. Okay, in introduction, we are going to study the what do you mean by computer. What do you mean by computer and why this computer term existed. Okay, computer is nothing but an electronic circuit which is going to accept the inputs from the users and process the data according to the user requirements. Okay, that's the definition says that computer is an electronic device which is going to accept the input, and process the data according to the user requirements. Then in introduction itself, we are going to say that the mankind and the man is the evolution of computer. Wherever this computer started, for the main reason is calculations part. The man is discovered this computer for the reason the calculation part itself. So the computer definition says that it is an electronic circuit. Electronic circuit in the sense we are going to apply the calculations part by the electronic device. So we are saying it is an electronic circuit which is accepted by the user inputs. The user is going to provide the input to the computer and it is going to process, that is the electronic device, it is going to process according to the user requirements and gives an desired output according to the user needs. It is a definition of computer as the introduction itself. Then we are going to move to the related terms, that is hardware, software, data and user. Let me see one by one here. What do you mean by hardware here? Hardware in the sense the physical components of a computer. We are going to say the hardware, the physical components of a computer to do a particular task or to perform a particular task. Example, hardware examples are keyboard, mouse, monitor, etc. The physical components present in your computer is nothing but an hardware. Examples are keyboard, mouse, monitor, etc. Then this is about the hardware. Coming to the next keyword is software. What do you mean by software? Software is nothing but it is an set of instructions to do a particular task. Set of instructions to do an particular task is nothing but an software. Softwares, in that software we have the classifications. Those classification we will be seeing later part. Examples are MS Word or MS Office, Tally, NUDI, operating systems. These are the examples of an software. Then coming to your data, next term is data. What do you mean by data? See, I will clarify here one doubt. Data and information. Data and information. These two terms are different. These two terms are different and similar. We can say that these two terms are similar but different. Why? Because data in the sense it is a raw fact. Data is nothing but it is a raw fact, and information is nothing but this is processed data. The processing of data is called as information. Data antantandre, data is nothing but it is an raw fact or unprocessed data. We call it as an data. Information is nothing but the processed of or the processing of data is nothing but information. Clear? Then next, coming to the last term, that is user. That is User. User is nothing but the person who is going to write the program, or the person who is sitting in front of the computer to do an particular task is nothing but an user. Okay, clear? Then coming to the next topic, that is block diagram of a computer system. Here mainly the computer system consists of four main components. The computer system comprises of mainly four components. First one is nothing but an CPU, second input device, third output device, and fourth one is nothing but an storage unit. Okay, let me see one by one with the help of block diagram. Sir, solve pause matter. Okay, let me see the block diagram of a computer system. This block diagram of a computer system consists of mainly four units. That is the input unit, CPU, that is central processing unit. Again, CPU consists of an control unit, arithmetic and logic unit, registers. After that, we have mainly storage unit, that is memory unit, we can say that. And finally, we have the output unit also. Let me see the diagram here, how the computer system going to be work. This is the exact block diagram of your computer system. Here, data. The user is going to provide or feed data to this computer system. This is the main part of your computer system. We call it as an CPU, central processing unit. Okay, then we are feeding to this computer as an input, that is data, through the input devices. Input device is nothing but an input, is nothing but an we are feeding the data to the computer, it is nothing but an input through the input devices. Input device is nothing but an like your keyboard, mouse, scanner. These are input devices. Through these input devices, we are feeding the data to the computer system. After feeding to this, then it will be the data is going to be stored under the storage unit. These two comprises of an storage unit. After that, we have going to see the CPU, that is control unit, arithmetic and logic unit. Okay, let me see the one by one here. What are the functions of these components? First thing, input unit is nothing but we are feeding the data through the input devices, that is scanner, mouse or keyboard. We are feeding the data to the CPU. In this CPU, we have the three components, that is control unit, ALU, and one more is that is registers. Okay, this is the register comes under your processor itself. So secondary storage. Secondary storage means whenever the data is given from the user, that has to be permanently stored under the secondary storage device. Whereas primary storage is nothing but it is a temporary memory where the data is going to be retrieved and immediately accessed by your processor. Then coming to your control unit, this we can say that it controls over all the operations of your computer. We can say that it is a nervous system of a computer. The main and over all the functions of your computer can be handled by this control unit. Input, from the input and to the exit, there is the information. Those functionalities are handled by your control unit. Then coming to your arithmetic and logic unit, the arithmetic and logic unit is going to be perform arithmetic operations and logical operations. Arithmetic operations are nothing but an addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. These are the operations performed by the arithmetic, and logical unit is nothing but an we are going to perform logical operations like NAND, AND, OR, NOT. Like these operations are performed by the logical unit, and whenever these operations are performed and the control unit is going to transfer those operations or result to the primary memory. Primary memory, it is a temporary memory. We can going to say that temporary memory wherever the user wants to access the data from the primary memory itself. If the user wants just the data for the future reference, Then those data are going to be stored under secondary storage. After that, the desired result is going to be displayed by the output unit. Output unit is nothing but the result is nothing but or the processed of data is nothing but an output. Those processed result are going to be displayed by using the output devices like monitor, printer and speaker. These are the output devices where the user can get the desired output by this output devices. Those processed information or the result, we are going to say that information. Actually, this is the block diagram of a computer. Okay, one more point in the block diagram of a computer. In block diagram of computer, ALU is called as the brain of a computer. Why we are calling ALU it is an brain of a computer? Because ALU is going to perform an arithmetic operations with the logical operations. See, as a human being, the brain functions or it is going to operate all the calculations given by the eyes, or what we are seeing, those calculations are done by your brain. Likewise, whatever the user provides the data to the computer, those data are going to be performed by the ALU. So it is called as the brain of a computer. Then CPU, we call it as the heart of a computer. Why it is called as an heart of a computer? Because CPU is going to perform whatever the necessary operations are going to be done by the computer system. The main and all the functions are controlled by the CPU. So it is the heart of a computer. Clear? Then we are moving to the next concept called motherboard. What do you mean by motherboard? And in this motherboard, we are going to see the topics like definitions and characteristics of the motherboard. Okay, then types of a motherboard. Then what do you mean by motherboard here? Where it comes? The motherboard is presented in the CPU. Mainly the motherboard presented in the CPU. It is the very important component in your computer system. Okay. Then this motherboard is made up of PCB. This motherboard is made up of PCB. PCB is nothing but an printed circuit board. Printed circuit board. Motherboard is made up of printed circuit board. Then this motherboard consists of This motherboard consists of all the electronic components mounted on this motherboard. Electronic components are nothing but it may be ports, registers, electrical circuits. All these components are mounted on this motherboard. So it is very important in the computer system. This is the definition. The motherboard is made up of PCB, printed circuit board, and printed circuit board. It has many chips, ports and controllers and other electronic devices are mounted on this motherboard. Then the characteristics of motherboard. Before going to these characteristics, again one more point is there. In your computer, all the devices like your CD drive, hard disk, secondary storage devices and your electronic components present in your motherboard are going to be communicated through this motherboard itself. Okay, all the electronic devices and components are going to be communicated through the motherboard. This is the platform we are providing for the components to communicate each other. Then we are going to move the characteristics of an motherboard. Motherboard consists of three characteristics, that is form factor, chipset and processor socket. Then what do you mean by form factor? Form factor is nothing but the geometrical dimension of a motherboard. The geometrical dimension of a motherboard, we are going to say the form factor. It is the geometrical dimension of an motherboard with an electrical circuits, electrical wires. It is formed in different shapes. Different shapes is nothing but it may be in the form of rectangle or square. your motherboard can be in the form of in the shape of an rectangle, or it may be in the square shape. This we call it as an geometrical dimension. So this is the first character. And coming to your chipset. Chipset is nothing but it is the having many chips in a single board, that we call it as an chipset. It is the main function, or this is the main circuit. It is going to operate all the operations on your motherboard. Chipset is nothing but it is an circuit, or this is an IC, integrated circuit, which is going to perform all the operations on your computer or motherboard. It is the main important chipset. Then coming to your processor socket, the processor is going to be placed in a particular position or location, that we call it as processor socket. Processor socket antandrenu? The processor is going to be hold or placed or located in a motherboard. That place or that the location we call it as an processor socket. Okay, clear? Then coming to your types of motherboard. Types of motherboard, there are 4 classifications of motherboard. First classification is XT motherboard. Second classification is AT motherboard, and third classification is baby AT motherboard, and finally we have the ATX motherboard. Okay, these are the classifications of your motherboard. These classifications are continued in the next class. Okay, thank you one and all.